Hey there folks, it's Jimmy Stewart here, hoping this is finding you all doing well. Welcome back to the channel as we go back to Vintage Classic Guitar Week, and this is going to be episode or number 6. Yes, this is number 6 in the series. As you already know, if you haven't seen them yet, number 1 was the 54 Gibson Les Paul. Number 2 was the Ovation, the 1976 Ovation Custom Balladeer. Number 3 was the 85 Steinberger. Number 4 was the 1965 NOS 2005 Custom Shop Stratocaster. And number 5 was the 1948 Rickenbacker NS lap steel guitar. So this is going to be number 6, and I'm going to be introducing another acoustic guitar, one of my favorites, and I'm talking about this guy right here. Now this is a 1994 C.F. Martin HD-35. Now, before we get into the guitar specifics itself, let's talk a bit about Martin guitars. Now, some of you may or may not know the history of Martin, as Martin is now the oldest guitar company in the United States, dating all the way back to 1833. But really, the history of that goes back even further, really with the birth of Christian Friedrich Martin back in 1796 in Germany. Now, Martin was born into a family of cabinet makers back then, and around the age of 15, Christian traveled out to Vienna from Germany to apprentice with a very big and established guitar violin maker at the time, Johann Straffer. Now, after Christian arrived in Vienna and started apprenticing for Straffer, evidently he did a pretty good job, because it wasn't very long after he got there that Straffer named him the foreman of his little shop there in Vienna. So after learning and apprenticing for Straffer, Martin traveled back to Germany to open up his own guitar shop. Now this caused a lot of controversy back then, because at that time there was a cabinet makers guild and a violin makers guild, and the violin makers guild basically said that, you know, if you're a furniture guild person, you make furniture, dressers and drawers and beds. Violin makers make instruments. And they didn't like the idea of Martin building instruments at the time. So a little bit frustrated and getting a lot of pushback from the Violin Makers Guild at the time was when, in 1833, Christian Frederick Martin Sr. decided to pack it up and head to the New World, and he headed out to the United States and arriving in New York in 1833. Now, shortly after arriving in New York, Martin set up shop on Hudson Street there in New York City and started his own little shop and started building guitars. Now, not knowing a lot of people and having the distribution and all that type of thing, or even where he could even sell his guitars, Martin kind of teamed up with a couple of different guys at that point. So Martin teamed up with Henry Schwartz and a guy named Cooper. And actually, the earlier, prior to 1840, Martin guitar models were named as such. So those pre-40 guitars were Martin and Schwartz, Martin and Cooper. Now around 1836, Schwartz decided that he was going to move out to Pennsylvania and get out of the rat race of the city, because the rolling hills of Pennsylvania in and around Nazareth, PA, reminded him more of his home there in Germany. So he bought around a 55-acre plot of land outside of Nazareth. Martin's wife went out for a visit one time and really fell in love with the area, and when she came back to New York, basically told Christian that, we really need to move out there. I think you'd really like it. It's more like Germany. So it was around 1838 that Christian Martin sold his little shop there and bought a 8-acre plot just on the outskirts of Nazareth, PA, to continue building guitars. Now, business at the time was pretty satisfactory, but they had to really, there was no railroads or all that kind of stuff established back then, so most of the cities that did the big trade were on the canal route. So Martin would visit those cities and try to sell his guitars in places like Boston, Albany, New York, Philadelphia, Richmond, Virginia, Petersburg, Nashville, and even New Orleans. Now, a couple of things that Martin brought with him back from the days of apprenticing with Stauffer there in Vienna was by designing guitars with the tuning keys all on one side of the peg head. Now, by the time Martin started discontinuing doing that around the mid-1840s, it never actually returned back until a guy named Leo Fender decided to bring back all the tuning keys on one side when he developed the Telecaster back in 1948. Another innovation that C.F. Martin brought into guitar building was the X-bracing, where he would brace the top of the guitar to give it more resonance and make it louder with a bit more bass response to it. Now remember, at this time Martin was making guitars in his homestead on his little 8-acre plot, and around 1859 he expanded that to try to keep up with the demand of his guitars, and he opened up a factory on the corner of Main and North Streets. Now that factory is still there today. It's not where they build guitars anymore, but they use it as a distribution warehouse and a inventory warehouse for things like strings and accessories. Now, between the 1890s and the 1920s, Martin was actually selling more ukuleles than they were guitars by about an aspect ratio of 2 to 1. So the ukulele was a much more popular instrument at the time frame. Now, you also have to remember this was during the Great Depression as well, and Martin was still in business doing whatever he could to maintain business at the time. So he got very creative between 1929 and 1931 by doing a couple of things. They brought out the Dreadnought Guitar, which was actually created by Fred Martin and back in 1916. But remember, prior to this, most guitars were designed after the Spanish guitar model. They were a smaller body. So they brought out the Dreadnought Guitar and also invented the 14-fret guitar. Again, now, remember, most guitars prior to then were joined at the neck right around the 12th fret. By going to a 14 fret, it opened up the harmonics of the guitar and gave it a little bit more projection so that people that were playing them could hear them better. Now, the 14 fret model became what Martin called the Orchestra Model. And the Dreadnought Guitar was actually named after the World War I large-scale battleship vessels that the British had come out with. The first Dreadnoughts were actually made back in 1916 and invented by Fred Martin and Harry Hunt. Harry Hunt was the manager of Chas H. Ditson Company. So those early model 1916 Dreadnoughts were actually branded as Oliver Ditson and Company brand. So again, Martin Guitar Company has been family owned since they established in 1833, and right up post-war World War II was when things started to get a little bit more interesting for acoustic guitar builders. Folk music was coming out, and the interest in an acoustic guitar, especially a larger body Dreadnought, was getting bigger and bigger. So by 1960, with the folk music movement and the singer-songwriter movement, Martin guitars became very, very popular because the demand increased so much from the folk singer area and up into the 1960s. Martin guitars were actually backordered for about 3 years at the time. And that was not real good business for Martin at the point, because people would walk into a guitar store and want to buy a Martin guitar and not have to wait 3 years to get one. So it was 1964 that they expanded and built the Sycamore plant just down the road from the original plant, and a much larger facility with a lot more people, and they were able to expand production and try to meet up with that 3-year backorder demand that they had at the point. So currently today, the CEO of Martin Guitars is Christian Frederick Martin IV, who was born in July of 1955 and took over as CEO of the Martin Guitar Company in 1986. Now, some of the innovations that the CF Martin IV has done since taking over in '86 is really the signature guitar series for Martin, like the Eric Clapton model and things like that. He also introduced the Backpacker Martin guitar, which is a type of travel guitar. And then with the concerns of the environment and the pricing of wood and the rarity of wood, they started looking at the X Series Martin guitar, using different sources and different products to make guitars and make it more affordable and economically friendly. So, now that you've got a brief history of Martin guitars from 1833 until now, let's have a close-up look with a close-up video of this particular model, the Martin HD-35. Let's have a look, folks.
So this is the up-close look at the 1994 Martin HD-35. Now the D-35 actually first came out, first started being sold by Martin in 1965. The biggest differential, like between a, say for instance, a D28 and a D35, was that the 35 had the 3-piece back on that, and I'll show that in the when I spin the guitar around. But this particular guitar is a bound fingerboard, and that's an ebony fingerboard with a scalloped bracing in that, and it's a bound fingerboard. It's got 1/4 bracing. Again, ebony fingerboard and bridge with a mahogany neck. And of course the top is a solid Sitka spruce top, with the sides and the back being East Indian rosewood. You can see that herringbone perfing around the guitar. That's what differentiates an HD from a normal D35. And here's that beautiful, gorgeous back, the 3-piece back, inherent to the D35s and the HD35s. Now the HD was a variant of the D35, and they put out their first HDs in 1978. See that mahogany neck with the Martin Deluxe tuning keys. And again, this is a 25.4 scale guitar, what's considered a 14 fret. It's 1 3/4 at the nut, with a bone nut and a bone compensated saddle on a ebony fingerboard and ebony bridge. Now this particular guitar, right after I got it, I had a LR Baggs system installed in it for live and stage performance. So it's got a compensated piezo under that bone bridge, along with a condenser mic built in, run off of a 9-volt system. There's that solid Sitka spruce top, and that herringbone perfing and edging. Just beautiful. Just a quick look at the case. Your standard CF Martin case, hard shell, with the CF Martin Company.
So, Hopefully you enjoyed the up-close video of the HD-35 and know a little bit about this particular model guitar. Now, being a Dreadnought big body guitar, this has got a pretty full sound, which was what Martin was really looking for the upcoming folk era and the singer-songwriter era of the 60s and into the 70s. Shoes, silver hair and ragged shirt and baggy pants. The old soft shoe, he jumped so high, jumped so high. Then he lightly touched down. I met him in a cell in New Orleans. I was down and out. He looked to me to be the eyes of age as he spoke right out. He talked of life, talked of life. She backed his clothes all around. Mr. Bojangles, Mr. Bojangles, Mr. Bojangles, dance. Blackbirds singing in the dead of night. Take these broken wings and learn to fly all your life. You were only waiting for this moment to arrive. Blackbirds singing in the dead of night. Take these sunken eyes and learn to see all your life. You were only waiting for this moment to be free. Blackbirds fly, blackbirds fly into the light of a dark black night. Blackbirds singing in the dead of night. Take these broken wings and learn to fly all your life. You were only waiting for this moment to arise. You were only waiting for this moment to arise. You were only waiting for this moment to arise. So, I'm going to wrap it up for today, folks. I hope you enjoyed volume number 6 here on the channel of Classic Vintage Guitar Week with the Martin HD-35. It's Jimmy Stewart saying so long, folks. Please take care. Please stay healthy. Thank you to all those who have subscribed to the channel. And if you haven't had a chance to subscribe, please consider doing so. I'd really appreciate it. So until next time, bye-bye for now. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll talk to you again very, very soon.